Just forewarning before this video starts, there are spoilers in this video. So if you don't want to be spoiled, I highly suggest stepping away from this video and coming back once you've beaten Diablo 4. With that being said, enjoy. Hey, what's going on YouTube? Today I am going to be reviewing and giving off my first impressions of Diablo 4. So I think that this might be the beginning of Blizzard's redemption arc. I say that because Diablo 4 is a fantastic game. I only have a few qualms with it, if you will, but we'll get to that. So I played through the game 1.5 times because halfway through the campaign I decided to switch classes from the rogue to the sorcerer, and I got pretty comfortable with the sorcerer and kind of settled in and decided, this will be the class I decide to beat the campaign with. It just felt really good. Of course, halfway through the campaign again as a sorcerer, I swapped from fire hydras to blizzard and kind of just ice spells, and the ice spells seemed really good with a couple of legendaries that I had, so yeah, that's what we ended up doing. So on the scale of 1 to 10, what would I rate this game? I'd probably rate it about a 9, and here's why I'm not giving it a 10. There are a few bugs still in the game. Of course, that's going to happen with most games when they first come out. There's usually a few bugs that need to be patched out. Although these bugs happen to have been in the early access and were not fixed from the last early access to this early access. So within the month time frame, there was no fixes on certain bugs that I've experienced. One of those bugs being an infinite loading screen, as well as a few bugs with the mount getting stuck on walls and, certain quests not continuing progress after you beat them. For instance, one of my buddies, he was playing the Act 4 boss, or the Act 3 boss, maybe. Maybe it was the Act 5 boss. It was Astaroth. But after he killed Astaroth, Donan is supposed to come over and kind of inspect him, and he just never came to inspect him. And so the quest was kind of just frozen there. So there are a few bugs, no doubt. So I would say on a level of what's the word I'm looking for? Being completed or being ironed out, I guess. There were definitely bugs. So, but with that with the bugs out of the way, of course, when I also have poor internet, so I was experiencing some pretty wild rubber banding every so often, and some pretty insane deaths that I just could not avoid. What would I give the story on a scale from 1 to 10? I'd probably give it a 9.7, only because, well, maybe a 9.6, because the story is amazing, but the only issue with the story is the ending. The ending is pretty lackluster. There are a few character deaths that are just pretty stupid. I don't know how else to put it, except for two characters at the end die, and or quote unquote one of them definitely is dead and the other one disappears. But just the way that they kind of got removed from the story was pretty just like stupid. Donan's just kind of like looking around, and he looks at a wall, and the wall attacks him and kills him. Um, Literally, it was like the most pointless death I've ever seen in my life. And then Nayrel just kind of vanishes um, after walking through a portal with Mephisto. So yeah, kind of weird. But besides that, like the rest of the story was pretty good. The quest lines seem to have followed a really good storyline. It all kind of blended together, made sense. The cutscenes were great. The voice acting, for the most part, was good. A couple of characters within the voice acting realm just did not drive home the accent I think they were trying to accomplish in this game. But for the most part, pretty good. So I would give the voice acting probably like a 9 out of 10. Like I said, there are a few characters there where their voice acting was a little rough, but I'd say 90% of the characters all had good voice acting. Gameplay wise, I would give this game probably a 9 out of 10 as well. Maybe I'd give it a 9.2 out of 10. It is really fun. The game feels great when it's not, you know, randomly bugging or lagging. When it's seamless, the game's immersion is crazy. There's just the right number of skills on the hotbar. It feels really good. There's a lot of customization going on. Even the fact that you can adjust your character's appearance, which typically isn't a thing in ARPGs, is very cool. And the fact that they integrate your character into cutscenes and make your character feel part of the story, very awesome. There's a lot to love about the actual gameplay mechanics. Not only do most of the skills feel great to use, of course, I think that the rogue had some of the clunkier skills, especially the melee skills. As far as I can tell, every class really does have like a good feeling part of their tree. Uh, and every skill I've seen so far be played seems to have a good feeling and kind of just like a good playstyle. Not only that, but the way that the game scales and levels up, it feels just really well paced. Itemization in this game is a little weird. It's something to get used to. You can't, as far as I can tell, craft items kind of from scratch. There's no way to like just kind of make a rare item like you could in Diablo 3. You can reroll affixes. You can also take legendary modifiers on an item and put them onto another item. There is some like good transferability and style with itemization that I really appreciate and enjoy. They also have socketing, which, as far as I can tell, socketing has maybe pulled back a few layers from Diablo 3, so they didn't go as in depth with it as they did in Diablo 3. But again, I'm just touching the end game now, and I still can only upgrade to normal gems. So maybe after I do some late game, end game stuff, we'll see more gems start to appear. But for the time, and as world tiers upgrade, and etc., etc., I'm only on world tier 3, so it could improve in that case, but at the moment, sockets feel pretty bare bones. I feel like there's a less variety of sockets from Diablo 3, but I could be wrong. I haven't played Diablo 3 in a while. I don't remember exactly how many gems there were, but yeah, I think Diablo 4 only has like 6 different colors, and what they do is kind of like they're all kind of pretty mediocre, with a few outliers being like crit damage to vulnerable enemies on the emerald gem for weapons, and then you get like max life from rubies on the helmets. Those are pretty good. Of course, diamond gems give you all elemental resistances on jewelry, so there are a few good jewel ones, but then there are also a few just like really bad ones. Like, of course, you have your thorns modifier, which again, I don't know why they have thorns in this game. I don't know who on Blizzard decided to take thorns from Diablo 3 and just continue to keep bringing that modifier back into the game. Because, man, nobody cares for it. Yeah, the socketing system's pretty cool. Cool. It seems a little bit peeled back, so it doesn't feel as complicated, which is nice. Yeah, crafting also feels a little bit peeled back. It feels like finding loot on ground is a lot more important than it was in Diablo 3 during the early game stages. Whereas in the late game stages, of course, in Diablo 3, all you would be doing is hunting down legendaries and liquidating them into your specific legendaries that you needed, and then just upgrading them into ancient and then primal ancients. Yeah, that mechanic got old very quickly. So with Diablo 4, I think the way that they're remedying it is by making it so that you really do have to find good gear on the ground and then take that gear on the ground and make it into a legendary. With the way that unique and legendary aspects work in this game, you're able to basically, if you find a legendary modifier that you like, you can put it on a rare that you like. Say you have you pick up a legendary with a good modifier, but it has some trash stats apart from the legendary modifier. You can then take a rare that has good stats on it, and you can kind of transfer over the legendary modifier, and then it'll turn your rare into a legendary as well. So that's kind of the itemization mechanic. So itemization feels good. It feels a little more simple, but it feels good. I would give itemization maybe an 8 out of 10, maybe 7.5 out of 10. It really, I don't know. It's not that complicated. It feels a little low to me, at least so far. Maybe in the late game it'll change, but for the time being, it feels a little weak. And by weak, I don't mean that the items are weak. I just mean that it feels not in depth. It just kind of feels bare bones. But moving on from that, I would say something that I really do appreciate about Diablo 4, based off of the first impression, is the amount of completion involved in the overworld. I genuinely feel like I have an infinite amount of things to do. And then apart from that, once you complete the campaign, you open up about 6 different mechanics that you can decide to play through and enjoy after the game is complete. So there is definitely plenty to do in this game. You won't run out of content quickly. And there's some trackers for completion, you know, the 100%ers out there, including myself. Yeah, really do feel connected to the game because there's just like there's trackers and there's systems and there's like this and this and this and this to do, and then there's collectibles to find, and yeah, the completion in the overworld feels great. Although I do hate that when I'm traveling, sometimes a giant bone wall will just surround me and knock me off my horse, and then I'm just like in combat on my way to a dungeon, you know, like some of that stuff kind of bugs me, but it is Diablo, it's supposed to be hard, so I don't blame the designers. I think it was intended for this. So, yeah, I would give the overworld and the exploration a 10 out of 10. The exploration is phenomenal. The world design is phenomenal. There, each section of the map feels different. Each section feels individual and very uh, open and explorable. There's a ton of stuff to explore. It feels very nice. I would give the mob variety an 8 out of 10. It feels like there could be a little bit more complexity with the dungeons in particular. Dungeons have a lot of repeat enemy models, and then of course elites are just bigger versions of normal enemies, and then they do reuse bosses in dungeons, so that part is a little bit repetitive. But you know, it's still for an ARPG when there's so many enemies in the game. It does feel like a diverse pool of enemies. It does feel good. But yeah, it does also get a little stale after you play a lot of hours in one sitting. You'll start to notice a pretty repetitive enemy base system. But of course, you know, in ARPGs, we don't really care about the enemy diversity. We just are here to hack and slash, so it's not a huge deal, but it is definitely something I noticed. Player movement across the map is a 10 out of 10. The mount feels crazy good until you hit a wall, and then you lose all your momentum. But if you're on a straightaway or if you're just traveling through the overworld and you're not getting snagged on anything, yeah, you travel very quickly. And then, of course, the waypoint in town system is also very effective and useful, and then the leave dungeon system as well. I never feel like I'm walking somewhere pointlessly. Nothing. It never feels like, oh, I have to go here. It's so far away. You know, it maybe maybe twice during the campaign I was like, oh, that's so far away. But besides that, like, you don't feel like you're ever just like in a running simulator, which is very nice. Difficulty. I would say playing on World Tier 1, you would probably have an easy time playing the game. Playing on World Tier 2, it does grant some challenge to the game. Of course, here I'll put up a clip of me fighting Lilith right here. You're gonna see me blast through Lilith in seconds. It was very easy, but my build was very strong. A little too strong for the end game. So I don't think I wouldn't blame the game because my friend who was playing alongside with me, he was really struggling with the final act. His character started to lose a lot of its power. It wasn't scaling well. So, there is, it is supposed to be, and it is difficult towards the end. You will die. It's not like, it doesn't feel like you'll never die. You'll die. Trust me. This game is hard. On World Tier 2, it's hard. And then on World Tier 3, it's even harder, of course. And then, there's World Tier 4, and then I guess there's also Torment. So, yeah, game is difficult. It was intended to be difficult. This game is purposely difficult, and I love it for that reason. It grants a challenge, so you'll enjoy it. If you enjoy difficult games, this is up your alley in difficulty, no doubt. As far as I know, there's a PvP system in this game. I have not experienced it, so I have no comments on the PvP experience, but I'm sure it's interesting. Of course, I also have not tried the hardcore experience yet, although I know for a fact that it's pretty much the same as the normal player experience, except when you die, you start over. Now yeah, that's when it gets really hard because then you need to start itemizing very specifically and you can't progress the story when you want to in the fear of failing. So take that with how you will. Some people will want to play hardcore, some people will want to play softcore, and there's a reason that both exist. Something I really appreciated about Diablo 4 over Diablo 3 is the art direction that they took. Diablo 4 feels a lot more dark and spooky and demonic. It's got that gothcore feeling that like people expected out and expect full-heartedly out of Diablo. That feeling of ominous, that feeling of darkness, of that feeling of uncertainty and lack of safety. It feels daunting, and it really does, and it's like perfectly daunting. The art aspects are phenomenal, 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 phenomenal. I think they realized just how badly they got hosed for Diablo 3's art direction. Yeah, but man, Diablo 4, they really figured it out. So Diablo 4's art direction is perfection. I would give it a 10 out of 10. I have yet to see anything too goofy in this game. Even down to the treasure goblins, nothing feels like goofy or rated T for teen. This game feels dark and menacing. It feels spooky, and that's kind of what we're here for. So art direction, 10 out of 10, definitely good. I think the last thing I want to talk about is the party system and player-to-player interaction. Player-to-player interaction is a little weird in the sense that characters, when you're joining in on a party, you join in on the party leader's instance, which means quests you do forward their progression, and then there's like some blend of your progression in their map as well, but like their main story is in a different spot, and your world tier also adjusts based on what the party leader's world tier is set at. And then when you leave the party, it does not revert back to your old world tier. So there, you know, there are a few weird things about player-to-player interaction and partying, the party system. But I do appreciate the fact that the area level scales per player. So if you have a level 30 and a level 40 player in the same party, the area will be scaled for at level 30 for one player and at level 40 for the other player at the exact same time. Do keep in mind that this is not always 100% true, as certain dungeons and areas have minimum level requirements or just minimum level difficulties that will then scale up if you go above the minimum. For instance, if a dungeon has minimum level 50, you can go in at level 30, but they won't drop to level to match your player level. They won't drop to a monster difficulty of 30, they'll stay at 50. But if you're level 55 and you go in there, it will go up to level 55. So it always feels like it's scaling with your character. Also, has a difficulty floor. So you can't pull the difficulty down on purpose. Yeah, very cool stuff with that. But yeah, I would give overall the partying system maybe a 6 out of 10. I think there's a few issues that need to be ironed out. It also can get a little laggy and weird, playing through certain quests in the way that completing quests and sitting through cutscenes works. Yeah, it feels a little strange in the party system. But take that as you will. Of course, then there's the clan system. Clans and guilds feel very lackluster in this game. At the moment, a guild, all it is a tag in a way to talk to a big group of players all at the same time without being in the party with them and without having to have them on your friends list. That's about as far as it goes. It's really just a social system. Beyond that, there's not really much else to do with a clan. Uh, so yeah, the clan system's pretty lackluster. Also, trading. Trading in this game, yes, it is possible. Although I'm not too sure how they plan on fully implementing it. I don't know if it was in the early access, if it was intended to be in the early access. They probably will need a trade website or third-party system of some form. Because right now, the way that player-to-player trading works is very bad. Low end, I would say. So, yeah, trading is a little weird. Of course, that's not the main aspect of the game. Trading has never been a main aspect of Diablo, so I'm not surprised to see that. But yeah, trading is pretty lackluster. Besides that, for player-to-player interaction, like I said before, I have not played the PvP, so I cannot speak upon that. And that's about as far as player-to-player interaction goes. I also don't like the fact that people in town can just whisper you randomly. It means that sometimes you'll be walking through town and some random RM tier will message you telling you to go look at their website and spend money on gold and like real life money, and you get spam whispered occasionally. So while just sitting in town. So yeah, that stuff's kind of weird. I think they should fix that. But yeah, you know. Alright guys, I think that kind of wraps up this review of Diablo 4. I'll be playing a lot more of this game because it is amazing. I'll try to keep you guys updated. I'll have a build video coming out soon, but I will have revealed a bit of a sneak peek of what my build is up to, so hopefully you guys get an idea. And if you like this content, like and subscribe, please, because I'm switching over from Path of Exile to Diablo 4 for a little while, so I'm not too sure how the algorithm's going to handle that. So yeah. Anyways, guys, I will see you in the next one. Thanks for stopping by. All right, see you later.